Okay, well, good evening. This is the ninth meeting of the Middle Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Okay, is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And everyone on Zoom, welcome. If you have a question or a comment, you'll have an opportunity to speak after something's been seconded. Just give us a shout, okay? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 25th.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pat, could we have a report of executive session?
Sure, the board met immediately before this evening's public meeting and executive session to discuss pending litigation in real estate. No decisions were made, no votes were taken.
Thank you. Public comment on non-agenda items. Does anyone have public comment on any item that is not on the agenda? Anybody? Okay. Announcements, just real quick. So for the month of May, there'll be an exhibit over at the Community and Cultural Center curated by artist Tricia Lippert, Flowers Everywhere. It's a multimedia exhibit and I think over a dozen artists. We're in search of a committee member for the Historical Association. We are in search of Community and Cultural Center Foundation members. So check the newsletter or website in the coming days. And we're in search of Marshalls Creek explosion survivors. So if anyone knows any civilians that are relatives of the survivors or who were witnesses that day, we would like them to contact us because we're starting to build a database and build a group of people who could provide input on the memorial that is planned, the expanded memorial. And that's it. Does the board have any announcements to make?
Nope.
Anybody?
No.
Okay. Committee and department reports. So there's a full committee and department report for each committee and department in the township. The full reports are over on the side. And as usual, the full reports are also attached to the minutes. Does the board have any highlights that they'd like to pull out of any of these committee reports?
Nope.
We're economic development, we're continuing to accept applications for the Revitalize 209 project. And if you don't have anything you'd like to pull out, then I will make a motion to accept all the committee reports as written.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Michelle, is there any correspondence? Not tonight, no. Okay, and that brings us to you, Mike, with the bid opening.
Okay, so first is F.O.B. Superpave, which we only have one bidder. From Eureka Stone Quarry. So for So 9.5, wearing, 7368. Superpave, 25 mil, 6092. Superpave, 19 mil, 6675. Superpave, 9.5, 7368. And Superpave wearing 19 millimeter, 6675. So I will make a motion to receive the bid.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to award to Eureka pending solicitor review.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next up is seal coat, which we have a few. First one is Midland Asphalt. Taped it up like somebody was gonna steal it. You got a thing?
Yes, I have a thing.
Their bid is $92,931.79. Next one is AMS. Their bid is $71,403.19. Next one is the Woco. Their bid is $131,683.27. And make sure they're not doing the entire township now. So I will make a motion to receive the bids.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to award to AMS pending solicitor review as they are the low bidder.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Okay, well, you're still up.
Okay,
Treasurer's report.
motion from the general account, $155,978.13.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye. Motion from the sewer account, $107,824.18.
I'll second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And a motion from the golf account, $9,830.70.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Okay. Solicitors report.
Thank you. There's one item listed under my report, and it's in relation to the Country Club of the Poconos Phase III Section 5 Land Development Plan. This is a plan that received a recommendation, a conditional recommendation from the Planning Commission pursuant to a resolution number 2013-01. Subject to the applicant complying with and satisfying the outstanding conditions in that resolution, as well as the outstanding conditions and requirements associated and referenced in the November 21, 2013 review letter from Riley Associates, the township engineer at that time. Since 2013, 2014, I believe the township has, or the applicant has continued to request time extensions to proceed with the plan. And the township has allowed or accepted those time extensions to date. The current time extension from the applicant was agreed or provided to the township in December of 2022, and it expires on June 30th, 2024. Back at one of your March meetings, you authorized a letter to be provided to the applicant, putting them on notice that if they did not revise or provide revised plans addressing the outstanding issues and conditions of the resolution from 2013, as well as the latest township review letter from 2013, that you would act on the plan. That letter was sent to the applicant on, looks like April 2nd of 2024, putting them on notice that if they were not to address the outstanding conditions and or provide revised plans on or before tonight's date, May 9th, 2024, that the Board of Supervisors may take action on the plan, which would include a denial based upon Resolution 2013 -01 and the review letter dated November 21, 2013. I am not aware of the applicant submitting any revised plans or a response to the April 2nd, 2024 letter. Have they responded?
Nothing's come in.
Okay.
Have they called even
No.
since?
No calls, no
Nothing.
emails, no letters.
Okay,
So at this point, if the Board of Supervisors wished to and wanted to proceed with acting on the plan, you could consider a motion at this time. And the motion, given the fact that there are additional outstanding issues and conditions as set forth more specifically in Middle Smithfield Township Resolution 2013-01, and that's a resolution from the Planning Commission, as well as the latest Township Engineer Review Letter dated November 21, 2013. You could do so at this time. And again, that would be a motion to deny the Country Club of the Poconos Phase 3 Section 5 land development plan based upon the failure of the applicant to adequately respond and or address the outstanding items set forth in the Planning Commission Resolution date number 2013-01 and the November 21, 2013 Township Engineer Review Letter.
I'll make that motion.
Sorry.
any comments or questions?
There's a comment, a question? Is that, for residential housing development?
Yes, it was.
And who's the applicant?
Dan Sam.
Ransom LLC, AKA Monroe Pike Land LLC. The letter went to Mr. Brown,
So.
Mr. Robert Brown of 507 Seven Bridges Road.
So they never responded to, what the objections were to their plan? Was that a townhouse plan?
This is a plan from 2013. And they have a resolution from the Planning Commission from 2013 with a long list of outstanding items and conditions, as well as a review letter from the Township Engineer from November 21, 2013. My understanding is nothing has been done or addressed since that time. The township has probably on every other year basis accepted their time extensions. And they have not responded, or they did not respond to a letter from the township to the applicant on April 2nd, 2024, notifying them that if the township was not provided with an update and or revised plans addressing the outstanding items and conditions, that the board may take action on the plan at tonight's meeting, which would likely be a denial based upon the outstanding items.
Are those plans and the objections public? Like, could we get copy of those?
They're not approved. huh?
No.
They're not approved plans, but you can get a copy of the Township Planning Commission resolution.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that brings us to the engineer's report. There is no engineer present tonight. There is no old business, so that brings us to new business, which is, Mount Nebo Apartments Security Reduction, request number 4. So the board has in your packets the letter from Riley Associates that recommended a release of $130,000, $130,707.40. And then they recommended that a sum of $43,450 be held on the completion of remaining improvements and 10% of the work. So you can see the letter in the packets. I believe it was all emailed as well.
I'm gonna make the motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Green Light Go program, extension of time. The
Yeah.
board has in your packets a letter regarding the Green Light Go program from Michael Senti.
Yeah, so the genesis of this is that, PennDOT, who's sort of steering the ship here, did not give some plans to the contractor in time to what they believe to make the June 30th completion. So the extension was requested and approved by PennDOT, so that this is basically just an acknowledgement that the completion has been adjusted to December 31st, 2024. I don't believe, I guess we can vote on it. I mean, there's nothing really this is just an acknowledgement, but I'll make the motion that we agree to the extension of the contract for Green Light Go.
Is it necessary, Ben?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm surprised you didn't ask a question, Ed, about the Green Light Go and the lights.
I've given up.
Okay. All right, so in your packets, the board also has the Revitalize 209 committee recommendations and updates for tonight. So in your packets, you have Liberty Plaza, which is the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, for buildings 5017 and 5019 Milford Road. So the following application was recommended by the 209 committee for us, but it was incomplete, and then a revised version was submitted with the forms and pictures for us to review. So they would like to submit for this grant for the painting of 2 buildings. The cost estimate is $10,610. Their grant request is $5,305. And you can see in your packets their complete application as well as pictures of what they hope to accomplish by cleaning and power washing and painting this.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next in your packet,
Well, that was just for, I want to make sure, that was just for one, right?
Yeah, it's just
so this
Liberty
is the
Plaza.
painting
Okay.
and
Yeah.
power washing.
2 buildings, 1 property.
So, next in your packet, you had seen the email from the zoning office regarding the incomplete application that required an inspection by the zoning office. So in your packets, you can see, and as was emailed to you, you could see the results of that inspection. The update to the board is that the economic development manager did speak to the applicant about this in order for their grant to go forward. And they required more detail other than what was here and explained to them, and they were advised to speak directly to the zoning office. So that's where that is. Also in your packets is the Marathon Studios parcel, which was also discussed at our workshop session. In it is the complete application, and they had two projects that they wanted to apply for. They wanted to apply for some landscaping around their billboard. And the second thing was that they wanted to make some repairs to the structure. The easiest thing to do is to look at their diagram, which is like the last page of their application.
Delta Homes.
Okay.
Primrose.
Please, where?
Primrose.
Thank you. I'm just flipping to the project now too. Okay, so there's a description of what their landscaping is in there. I'm trying to look to where the cost is. Because it was broken out between the two projects. We discussed it last time.
Didn't get the separated quote.
Oh,
James said that
okay.
he's been asking them and he's still trying, the applicant's still trying to get it from the contractor.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm flipping through these and these are just all the different quotes that they got for the whole thing, so. All right, so there's no action on this one tonight then. Do you agree? Does the board agree?
Sure.
So that takes care of.
So,
And now,
do we make a motion to table it, or we just,
there's nothing to table, we don't have all that information,
okay,
so. We're just going for that, and that brings us to under new business, letter D, Marshall's Creek Fire Company Golf Alley.
so like I said, I just wanted to confirm or memorialize what the plan was from discussions at the workshop. And from what Todd had said, is that we are now charging Marshall Creek Fire for each golfer, and we're not going to guarantee that they can have it in the September date. Is that correct?
The golf course is for sale.
Right.
With any luck, it'll be under new ownership as of June 11th. What the future owner does with it, is up to them. We have no control over that. So
So,
that's correct. If you were to book your golf outing, members of the Marshalls Creek Fire Company here tonight, if you were to book your outing, and it's the same thing that we've been telling everybody all the other times that we went out to bid. And everyone that has called to rent the Whispering Pines has been told every time it's gone out to bid that the course is, and the Whispering Pines is up for sale. We cannot guarantee that your wedding will happen on this date if it's under new ownership.
okay, so my question is, if they moved it, I was just thinking about this for a week, but if they moved it, I don't know if they can, but if they move it to, August, it would still be under our control. Right?
If the bids were opened on June 11th and the money, they have until from.
There's
what I'm
60
told,
days.
60 days, but if
So
we
June,
receive it,
July, August 11th.
if we receive the money sooner than 60 days,
Well, yeah, I mean, we can somewhat control closing to a certain extent. They're required by statute to provide the full cost within 60 days.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, anyone else that buys a business, I mean, they would honor, whatever contract you have, I mean.
They may decide not to open the pores.
Yeah.
They may decide to close the course. There have been several people who have looked at the course and they're interested in the hundreds of acres that are there to be developed, and they're not interested in
Okay, well, I
operating.
mean, I'm just saying, so if they had it August 10th, let's say. I mean, for argument, I don't know what the date is, but whatever. It would still be under our control and we could guarantee the date.
Well, that would be on what's already booked. We don't know that. It would have to go through the normal process of calling the pro shop, seeing what they had on their thing. August 10th is a Saturday.
Okay.
So maybe there's another tournament booked. I don't know. I don't know what dates are available.
Okay, because again, it's, now, and as far as now we're changing where we're gonna charge for a golf course.
Well, that was discussed,
Hmm.
because we were talking about, are we really prepared to give away an entire Saturday of business?
Oh, we have.
I think that same problem
Well-
comes with a new owner. I mean, for them to fulfill a contract with giving away their golf course for an entire day Saturday. I don't know.
But we have for the last 12 years.
But for the last 12 years, we have not had a fire and EMS tax. I do remember discussing when we were going over a fire and EMS tax, that it would be enough to cover all of the fundraising,
No, we can do that.
so
May I approach?
you could speak, sure. Hmm,
Gene Burry, Senior President of Marshall Street Fire Company.
hmm,
In all of our preliminary discussions prior to this with all three board of supervisors,
hmm.
the agreement was with the emergency services tax coming in, that it would eliminate the road drives.
Right,
The discussion on our clock drawing
right, yes,
and the golf touring were never discussed, and there was no
That's
discussion, it was that we could continue
That's
to use
correct.
those.
that's correct.
As was stated, for 12 years now, we have used the golf course on the Saturday in September, free of charge. We have reimbursed for supplies we've used, alcohol, etc. Over those past 12 years, we've seen our golf tournament grow up to 116 golfers, which is one whale of a group. And we have most of those 116 golfers are come back because they enjoy the golf course. They also like how we run the tournament. Over the last 12 years, we have averaged somewhere between $8,000 and $11,000 profit. That's after all expenses and everything else. So if we take that over 12 years, roughly, it's about $10,500 profit that we make. If we were to stay at 116 golfers, you folks charging us $35 a piece, that would come to a total of $3,850. So if we average $10,500 per year, which is the average, we're gonna be down to $6,650, $6,650.
Mhm.
You mentioned the emergency service tax. We are limited of what we can spend those funds for. By state law, we can only expend them for what the ordinance, the law says, the act says. We have in the fire company, we have other expenses besides those that are covered under that emergency service tax. That things that we have to purchase, we have to buy for safety of firefighters, equipment repairs, etc., that will not be covered underneath the
I'm
emergency
sorry,
services.
what was it not covered?
Well, there would be things that we have to buy that would not be covered underneath, all right?
And what
We
would that
still
be?
don't,
What
we
would
still
that
don't, and here comes the problem,
be?
we still don't have a total list, a complete list of what we can spend the tax money for.
I thought that was pretty clear from the,
Capital
From the
improvement, we know,
ordinance, yeah,
We know electricity, those kind of things.
Operating expenses,
Operating
your
expenses,
fire,
right.
right,
But we do have other operating expenses.
and what would not be covered under the tax?
Service awards
Mhm.
that are given, distributed on an annual basis at our annual banquet. Incentive money for response. Gifts to firefighters throughout the year, such as T-shirts, sweatshirts, etc.
Okay, so,
Social affairs that we. Oh, on the fire side, the members were away quite often, and we do have one or two affairs, social affairs for our spouses, our children throughout the year. And the wives are giving us up, kids are giving us up for some 1,000 plus calls a year. So those expenses would not be covered underneath the emergency services tax money that you give to us.
Mhm.
So we still are going to need to raise some money on the side
Mhm.
to handle those expenses.
And,
We have written off road drive, so we took $35,000 right out from under. Right, okay, we agreed to that. So the two fundraisers that we still have to get that extra expense money is the golf tournament in September and the clock drawing in August. Between the two of them, we probably see $20,000 of money
Right,
to take care of those expenses. But if you're gonna take $3,850 out, I'm down to
now, wait
$17,000.
a minute, let's back up a second. When when the board was discussing how much the fire tax and how much the EMS tax should be, we added up all the expenses. We added up everything that we've given. And then added on top of that. So that $35,000 in road drives,
We gave up for the tax.
Right.
There's
Was-
no
was it
argument
in
there.
this-
We did that right from the get-go.
right, we've always said from the beginning that you can do things like the clock drawing, the rifle, the gun raffle, and all of that for fundraising.
Right.
We've
And-
always said that, but
And the golf
what,
tournament
okay,
was on that list also. Nothing was ever mentioned about that in any of our meetings of saying, well, now we're gonna start charging you for the golf course. That was never said in any of the 3 township board meetings we've had since the fire tax was started.
I am saying that when this board, and this board remembers it, and we have minutes of those workshop sessions, the golf outing was, and the insurances and all the other stuff we paid for was calculated in order to come up with a number for the tax.
no, the only thing we ever, the only thing we ever discussed that the ask was always been the road drives.
And
Nothing was ever said about the golf outing, the clock drawing, what have you. Nothing was ever,
we did agree, right, we didn't add up the money from the golf, from the clock drawing and say, you can't have that.
Correct.
Those people get, we didn't
It's not for
do
us.
that.
we still, what we said is that this would not limit their ability to go out for donations.
Correct,
And this is a fundraiser.
correct. Well, but we also, for EMS, we added up the gas that is given to
Correct,
Bushkill Emergency
Correct.
Corps as part of, and that is coming out of the tax. So that's not on top of the
Right.
tax.
correct.
Now, do you remember what you received on average from Middle Smithfield Township in 2023 or 2022?
But, well,
Do you remember about how much that was?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000.
And how much are you receiving from this tax?
We're not sure yet. That's.
You are sure, we have the
We've
numbers
seen the
there.
figures
Sure, didn't,
that you
Didn't we
proposed
have-
back in the December, January meeting. That's what we've seen so far.
but you are so your first quarter check was 71,280,
That's
right?
correct.
So, is that with or without the 20% that was being held in
That-
reserve,
that
we
was-
decided
no.
not,
That
that
was,
we decided not to hold? Is that
That-
complete? So is it $71,280 times 4?
No,
Was the
that check
side?
was issued with still the understanding that.
Right, that was net.
Being held.
That's correct, that's net,
So it's more than that.
right, it's probably 85.
So it's,
Closer to 300,
excuse me,
closer to 300 for the year.
1,003, so you went from, what did you say?
67, I don't have those figures in front of me.
$70,000 a year to, so you went from $70,000 a year to $300,000 a year.
So what
in
is
the
that? But,
tax.
okay,
And you still have the ability to fundraise with the clock drawing and the gun raffle and all
We
of
do
that.
not run gun raffles. No,
Okay.
six opposed to it.
All right. So
so.
and we didn't even, the reason why we never discussed the golf outing when we were talking about all of this is because our understanding from the hullabaloo last year from the golf outing was that you were never coming back to Country Club of the Poconos for your golf outing. I was quite surprised to see that back on the list. Do you remember that conversation? Mark is in charge of the golf.
And
course.
and you were gonna bring Marshall's Creek in and Todd in and go through what happened,
Who?
right? You,
Who, me?
yeah.
We asked,
You're supposed to receive a letter from Marshall's Creek.
Right.
This is all the rumor mill, because no one in particular approached. A letter was supposed to have been sent by Marshall's Creek Fire Department
Mhm.
expressing their displeasure of the golf outing last year, and I never received the letter.
That's right, an email went out and we asked all parties to send something back, which we never received.
Well,
I
then,
think you were the one who came to the golf meeting,
correct,
to the workshop meeting,
that's correct.
to say that you were approached by Marshall's Creek,
Mhm.
to say that you were never having,
No, I
They
didn't say
were never
we're never coming back. What I said is that they were displeased with the way they were treated and the way Todd spoke to them during the tournament. And that Rachel,
yeah,
our Rachel was even in tears because of the way Todd spoke to her.
Jerry,
I
you want.
I was there during that affair, during that incident, and the way he spoke to her was total disrespect.
Right.
To any human being, let alone a female,
Mhm.
and the language was terrible.
Well, we're not talking about that now, we're talking about.
I'm looking at asking you, please, for the sake of us needing the money, so we can figure out exactly what can be spent out of the tax money, what expenses we can take out of there
Well, the township,
versus
the township code is pretty clear about what you can and can't.
in general terms,
There's a-
what is in general expenses. We would like a list of what entails, because if we spend the wrong check and we give you the wrong receipt, I can just see that mess coming.
What I'm saying is that
What,
for the last 12 years, we've done this. We haven't charged them. Okay, and it was never brought up that we were gonna change the way we operate because of the tax, other than the road drives. That's the only thing that was ever brought up. Never was this discussed. And until last Friday, where you said they're gonna be charged
I
$35.
didn't say that,
Well, who said it? Todd said it. Excuse me.
after, yeah.
Todd said it.
So
And you agree,
what
right.
happened was we had a workshop session,
Mhm.
and I think you brought it up and said,
Right,
Marshall's Creek Fire Company approached you and said that Todd said that we were charging.
correct.
Right, and I said that was the first I've heard of it, and I am surprised that Marshall's Creek Fire Company is coming back to use Country Club of the Poconos again. And Mark was going to speak to Todd, because Mark is in charge of the golf course and Todd rolls up under him, and get the information and come back to the next workshop.
Mhm.
what I'm asking for is this. If you will, at least this year, not charge us $35 a person until we can adjust what money's worth, what we have to use out of our own kitty, our own fundraising money, versus what we can use for the money you're giving us, at least this year.
Can you move the tournament to August?
I have to take that back to the membership.
And can you move it to a weekday, not on a Saturday or a Sunday, when the township makes money off of it?
You have any other golf courses you looked at that will be willing to give you a
The
Saturday?
committee has looked at numerous, Mark.
That will give you a Saturday?
No,
They
that's the
won't.
problem.
No, everyone wants a weekday.
Everybody wants a weekday also, and
We'll schedule the work of us volunteers to go ahead and do that, that's tough as it is.
Understood.
And yeah, so I, real quick, sorry for Yoshi, wanna know who was person that, had spoke you, Mark, or Annette about being disrespectful last year from Marshall Creek, it was brought to them, on my understanding, Chief, I thought it was Henry. All right, and one of your own employees was also disrespected. I don't know how that was handled amongst the internals there, but we never said, as far as I know, the committee was there, said we would never, ever not coming back. We're just very displeased, and how it all went down, after how many years that you've been very loyal, and we've been doing very good by you guys to have Torment there, and how he just took upon himself saying that it was a waste of his day, or waste of his time. So I don't know what happened with that, I thought it was resolved, because I did bring it to Mike, I did talk to Mike about that, because, the representative of the company, that was very disrespectful on Tommy Township to us. All right, I appreciate what you guys are doing for us, but we are trying everything we can. I mean, Patty said that we have 30 days after if you were to sell. 30 days, 60 days, you said, or 30 days?
60.
A potential bidder, if they were to bid on the project, they have 60 days to pay in full following the opening of the bid.
To pay in full. So if they don't, then I guess delayed, does that go back to possibly September where we hold it? How does that work?
Yeah, but that's a gamble. That's a game.
Yeah, we never had, which is what the golf tournament, it was discussed that road drives were fully limited, which we agreed to, and then also the,
But yet it appears on your list
Yes,
when we come to
the
your
golf
meeting.
tournament has appeared on every agenda from all of our meetings, right since get-go.
Mhm.
And
So are you
when we
still
met
happy?
when we met in October,
Right.
when we met in October,
Mhm.
you raised the question, Mike,
Correct.
raised it again in January, and you said we had a gentleman's agreement, and that's what we agreed
That's
to
correct.
on behalf of the fire company. And when we looked at the April agenda,
Mm-hmm.
there was a notation under our fundraising section that said road drives would not be held in Middle Smithfield Township.
Correct.
But if you're
That's just-
holding them in Smithfield, as
No.
people are
Smithfield
entering,
pulled the rug from under us.
That's what I.
how is that?
Well, Smithfield said they can't do road drive in their
Smithfield
town.
voted last night not to allow us either.
That was never discussed.
How is that pulling out the road?
That was
from
never
under-
discussed by Smithfield.
I'm not.
Up through April's meeting on the 17th of April,
But if,
that
but
they
if
still
we're
said we
saying,
could do a road drive everywhere. It changed last night at the meeting.
but if we're saying that the reason why we didn't want road drives in our township is because we're making it up in the tax, because now instead of getting $60,000 a year, you're receiving $300,000 a year. And we were including that in it,
And
and we're telling our residents that that's a positive, who now have to pay this tax, especially the businesses where there may be hotels or golf courses where their customers have to sit in traffic for this, and we're telling them that that's a good thing. If they still have to go through it because you've moved the road drive up a few inches into Smithfield at that intersection,
But why
I
not, but why not be forthcoming?
we're on a different
No,
topic.
no,
with
why,
road
but,
drives.
why not be forthcoming?
are you saying Smithfield was not forthcoming?
Correct. If someone doesn't want road drives, like we don't, we said it from day one. Smithfield said silent. If we didn't want golf tournaments, or we wanted to charge for golf tournaments, we should have said from day one. Plain and simple.
That, right, and there was never any mention of that, and that's why,
I agree.
well, that's why we're asking you not to do it this year until we get everything straightened
I
out this
agree.
first year. Between the emergency services tax and the few
Mhm.
dollars a week. Those who are coming for the golf tournament, some of them, over half of them are not residents here. We've just managed to get, we've had them come from 2 hours away because of the golf course. They enjoy playing it, and they enjoy the way we run the tournament. So all we're asking for this year is, because we've had this discussion so this reached me over the weekend, of $35 a golf. We're just simply asking not to do it this year, let us get our full money for the golf course. Pending the sale and.
right, right.
And hopefully the.
And in my
First
mind-
group does, and he may work with us.
Right, and in my mind, looking at the budget, there would be no increase or no adverse effect on the taxpayers, because this year, not only do we have the fire tax and EMS tax, but we also have half the year of the cable tax coming. So we're actually ahead of the game with the half a year cable tax. So $3,500 as a donation to the fire department is not gonna cripple the township, and I believe it to be, you know, a good gesture. We just give to Kettle Creek.
But, well, Kettle Creek has nothing to do with this, but you bring up a very
I'm
big,
talking about donations.
you bring
Kettle
up,
Creek, we gave $1,000, I think. Couple weeks back, we gave $2,000 or $3,000 to the historical commission.
but they're not getting $300,000.
I understand that, I understand that.
Those are separate things.
No,
Let's
it's
talk
not.
about, those are, it's a
It's
separate
charitable
thing.
organizations that the township uses general funds to fund.
It's a separate, listen, it's a separate thing.
Well, it
I
may be
think
your-
where the miscommunication was this board in coming up with the $300,000 number had to add up what we were already giving and then add on top of it. And included was going to be with things like insurance, gas, jaws of life, the incidentals that we had given over the years, and that was part of it. I was surprised that this even came up on Friday, because with any luck, we'll be under new ownership. The golf course will be under new ownership in June. And that has been told to everybody that called to book, and we've advertised that a lot, so there wouldn't be that.
And that was given to us, that information
Yeah.
too. We're hoping
And-
that if
Yeah.
indeed it is sold, that we can go to the new owner and say, listen,
Right,
we haven't booked, this is one of our fundraising events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if it's still owned by you folks, we're asking very kindly and graciously that you do not charge us $35.
and we had discussions last year prior to voting on the fire and EMS tax, that we would still be making donations at various times to the organizations. i.e., the paving up at Bushville Fire Department that still has to occur is not coming out of their tax. Correct?
We spoke about donations,
Mm-hmm.
much like we would give donations to others. So if somebody I would consider a donation, if you were to have your golf tournament anywhere and you said, would you consider buying a tee, be a tee sponsor? Would you consider buying a page in a book? That would be a sponsor, much like we do for the school
Yeah.
district or anybody else. That
So what
would
about
be
the paving?
Now, the cable tax, you brought up a very
What
good
about the
point.
paving?
I'm still on the cable tax that you were just talking about a few moments ago.
Right,
That expires in June.
correct.
So don't we receive another payment for that?
We will.
And that was to be split up amongst the fire and EMS. So that would be an addition.
No,
No,
no, it wasn't.
My understanding was that we would split that up the same way we had in the past, because you have received the fourth quarter
No.
of it. Is
Well,
that not correct?
That's,
What are we doing with it?
it's in the general fund.
The
$112,500 for
cable,
2024 is in the general fund.
it has always been a pass-through.
Correct.
And we expected that we would collect this
Well, may-
money from the cable and franchise fee. It would go into the general fund, and just as in the past, I thought that just as we gave them fourth quarter of 2023, that the cable tax that is due to expire in
And
June
give them the
would go
cable
to
tax,
would go to.
so you'll get 15,000 from the cable tax and you pay us the 34. Fair enough. Okay,
Isn't that how it was?
I thought it was.
That's how
Okay.
we thought it was.
okay, good. So, that's easy.
You know.
but our portion of the.
Yeah,
Cable tax.
so on top of the
Okay,
$300,000,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
on top of the $300,000 that you are getting, instead of the $60,000 that you used to be getting, there's still reminiscent payment from the cable and franchise fee that is set to expire in June
Okay, well,
from
I'll
it.
have to look at. what those-
Wasn't that how it was to work? Did you understand? How did you
That's fine.
understand?
It was in the general fund, because we had the fire and EMS tax.
Mhm.
You can look at the fire and EMS tax budget, and you'll see that cable tax is not an income,
Mhm.
it's in the general fund.
So you're saying since the public is going to keep the cable and franchise fee, we can afford to give, they're not going to be harmed in any way. By
I don't
having
think
to
it's a matter of
fund-
harming
having to
anybody.
fund-
I
by
mean, it's
having to
not a
fund the law.
desperation. I mean, if it's that much of a hardship for the township, I'll pay it myself.
Well, I'm just wondering why, I mean, when we had the Ray White tournament, why did we charge everyone $35 for that?
Because
That was,
we were taking that money and donating.
we were donating it to Valor, but it was a township event. It was a township
And the money
event, just
collected
like,
went to Valor.
except for the $35 that we collected.
Well, I didn't
Which
make
we
these
did.
deals. I wasn't part of these golf deals at all.
You were the one who asked that.
I asked after the fact, but
No, you
When
asked.
these guys- when the
Excuse
fire
me,
department
excuse
came,
me.
who set up the deal?
4 hours before, look, we had golf committee meetings
I'm not on
and
the golf committee.
spreadsheets from it that were distributed to the board when it came to the Ray White Golf Memorial Golf Tournament.
Okay.
4 hours before the tournament,
Mhm,
you asked what we were receiving per golfer.
mhm.
And since it was a township event, much like Memory Makers or anything else that we did,
Mhm.
I said, this is what we've been doing the last 6 months that everyone was CC'd
But
on.
what?
And you thought at our Board of Supervisors workshop,
Oh, so-
and you stated that it should have been they should be charged $35 a golfer, and you agreed. And that was a township event that we had.
Again, maybe that's how it was from how those were handled. This has been for 12 years. And now it's changing.
Well, we didn't have a fire and EMS tax for 12 years.
Understood, but that's
So-
never brought up, not
Look,
once.
it was a surprise to me on Friday when it came up. And I had to think, how would that conclusion have been gotten to?
What conclusion?
That golfers would, one, that there would be a golf tournament after, or that somebody was booking a tournament after the bid opening date, and the fee.
Well, we have
for-
Little League too. Don't we have Little League after, in September?
But they understand and may not have.
Okay,
Right,
well,
so
again,
was-
I mean, that's the way the deal is struck. I mean, it's been my experience, if someone buys a company, they honor the contracts that exist.
We discussed that before,
No.
when we were putting the golf course up for sale, the
Golf course,
last
yeah.
several, yes, we did, we discussed
No, we didn't.
before that, when we put the golf course up for bid several times in the past.
Yeah,
And we said that we wrote out a script for the staff to say that we don't know what will happen after the sale. We discussed, as we made a list of all the items that would go with the sale, the china,
absolutely,
all of the things.
absolutely.
And that included the book of business, which would be the contracts. And at that time, when we created the things that would go into the deal room that CBRE has for the golf course, it was discussed, should we,
Who?
should the board, should we have them honor these contracts? And we decided we could not force
I
a new
don't recall that. I
on the
don't,
golf. to
it's never
honor
been
those
my
contracts.
experience. I don't
We
recall
discussed- Right, well, we
making
did-
that decision, and I wouldn't based on my experiences. I mean, I've been in the professional business for over 35 years. I mean, I've never had anyone purchase a company or a business and not honor contracts that exist.
Well, contracts that exist would be things like the premier memberships.
No, we
that
have a
would need to
contract,
be
we have a
brought up.
contract for a tournament, that's a contract that exists.
Well, that's a heck of a thing to pull out of the fire, Mike. We have a contract for a tournament that costs nothing.
Okay, but that's what we did, that's what we bought.
September 10th.
No.
Okay,
we
so
never-
lower your price by $3,500.
We never agreed,
You don't think that companies buy based on their book of business and everything else?
but they may decide to close the course and not operate the course at all.
No.
And then what you would be putting on a potential buyer is the fact that they would have to refund everybody on that. So, no, I mean, is that how you remember it also, Mark? Yeah, none of us remember saying that we are forcing a buyer to, keep a golf course open
Okay,
for a
well,
golf tournament.
Should have been
So
done
again,
correctly.
I was surprised that you were coming back based on the feedback from last year's tournament, so I was surprised at that last Friday. And surprised that anything would be booked past the time when there was the bid opening. Because when we questioned Todd, why are there so little tournaments? He flat out said, well, when I tell people that the course is up for bid and it may be sold, and there's uncertainty as to whether or not they can have their tournament, they don't book there anymore. So anyway, the goal was to be fair to all of fire and EMS, and we can discuss it more.
So let me ask you then, what happens when we come time to do the paving at Bushville Fire Department? We're gonna have the same discussion?
Well, what would happen, I would hope, is that you would bring it up at a Board of Supervisors workshop session.
It's been known for years.
With the costs of what there would be for, labor and materials.
Right,
And then we did discuss whether the labor would be considered a donation or how that would work. So that would be based on a project, that would be
so
something.
you're saying it's up for board discussion if we do the paving or not? Or if it comes out of the tap, is that what you're saying?
I think that we should know whether or not you intend to pave everybody in a year or what the projects are. Don't we go over all our projects?
Correct, and Bushville, 1/3 is left of Bushville
Okay,
since 3 years ago. I mean,
yeah,
but where's that money come from? Are we gonna have the same discussion that comes out of Bushville Fire
where
Department
did you
staff?
budget it? Where did we budget
general
it for
fund.
2023?
General fund as a donation.
So if that was budgeted for in 2024, and we discussed this in 2023, when we went through all our numbers of where it's budgeted, then that's not a part of the discussion of where they have their golf tournament, is it?
Okay, so the cable, like I say, pay them the cable tax. And they can cut us a check, that's fine.
You know, or we could go back to our notes from the, if you remember it differently, if you'd like to go back through your notes.
No, it works out better for them. They'll be net 10 grand ahead.
Well, it works out better for you, your golf course will lose less.
It may, but there's some other things that we all know have to be discussed here, and I don't think this public meeting is the proper place to discuss them. But, there's definitely an opportunity with that day, and, I'm gonna go into it, really.
Okay, so in conclusion, you're gonna
Because we
see,
know there were issues that day, we all do, whether you were there or not, we know there were issues that day. Yes, on our side, on your side as well, and there have been issues in the past that Todd has complained about, so I'll leave it at that.
okay, so in conclusion, you're gonna see if you can have your golf tournament some other time than the end of September, right? So you're gonna check on that?
We'll bring it up at Tuesday night's meeting.
Okay, and what was so the response was that you cannot have it any other day except a Saturday? It has to be a Saturday or a Sunday, it
It
can't
has to be
be
a Saturday.
a day of the week.
Right. If you're asking us all as volunteers, we run out of work, put fires out and so forth.
Right, right,
And now you're asking us to take another day off for a
Right.
golf tournament. That's,
yeah.
I can tell you, 95% that won't fly,
Mhm.
so.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
if we get the cable tax,
Yeah, we'll check our notes for that. And what other?
What do you mean
things?
check for what? I thought it was settled.
You're saying that we were mistaken, that was going to go in the general fund, and it
Right.
wasn't going to it. I mean,
No,
quite
you
honestly,
said that you and Mark said that it was going to them, so that's
that's how I thought it
Okay.
worked.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what we remember, so all we can do is look back in the notes and see where it actually is going.
Right, right.
Okay,
I'm gonna call Bonnie in now to have her look at it.
You know, but, okay, any other questions? For it, anything? Okay, so you're gonna check on those two things, we will check our notes, and, move it to pass, I guess. Is there any other public comment or questions?
I just wanna, I wasn't at the last meeting, Ed. And I just wanna let everyone know, these guys don't know either, but, with the 209 paving project that PennDOT has agreed to do this year. From Wendy's up to Municipal, what you're seeing out there now is their ADA curb work at all the traffic lights. But as part of that work, the cones that they set up outside the curb trigger the lights. The lights that the sensor on the lights finds a cone and believes it's a car at the intersection and goes through a rotation. So that's why it slows up during this thing. I've already had the Green Light Go contractor and our contractor who works on the lights meet, because some of the, who's it called, screwed up too, what do you call for you guys? Huh? Yeah, whatever the, huh? Yeah, the preamps are screwed up or something, so, but it's getting worked on, so just so you're aware. But I had, what's it called, the guy down there, Perkins, call me. Because he's getting complaints that everybody's stopping at the light, but the sensors are picking up the cones, so it thinks there's a car coming out, Wayne Bank or whatever, and then it's going through the whole cycle. So, just so you're aware.
It couldn't identify a car before, but it.
Right.
It works.
Right, so basically, we're trying to get everybody to paint their car orange, so
Okay.
Could that light be tweaked though, so that when it does turn red, it doesn't go green for the north and then green going south doesn't come on for another 20 seconds or so?
I believe we can fix that. I believe so. I think, but I may not, well, it may not be, because what that does is give them a head start for a left. I understand.
That turn,
Right,
triggers it so that the people going north are released before the people going south.
right, so people going north can make that left.
No. After that, in other words, after the orange goes on and they get their green light,
Mm-hmm.
the people going south still sit there
Correct,
for a while.
because the people going north are given the opportunity to make a left into the plaza.
Well, the arrow's not there anymore.
But I believe that's why it's done that way. Is that if someone wants to make a left,
Yeah, but they wouldn't know they could go because the green arrow has gone out.
okay,
So the green arrow has this thing out longer.
I say we take them all out and just run for your life. Anyway,
You gave up.
just get a siren like these guys, and you can go through anything.
Me and the neighbor. Made that one of those lines. Preemptor.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just seeing if I could find that list for you. It's the same one that we handed out at the meeting that everyone was at, that had the list of what is allowable under the tax and what is not. So I don't know what other questions you have. Huh?
I think they're talking about their incentives and these.
Right, well, but yeah. So, what else did you need from us? As far as what you could, Bonnie C, the new Bonnie, had that concise chart with the numbers on it, the job code numbers on it of your expense and where it would go. That seemed to be a list of everything you could spend under the tax. Yes?
We'll look at it Monday evening at the board meeting.
Okay, all right. All right, because I could always resend that list, so, okay, great. Any other public comment or questions? Yes, Ed?
One question about the bidding. If you're bidding on dumpsters for cleanup day or something like that, that's pretty cut and dry. You know, you pick the lowest bidder. But something like seal coating, there was a pretty wide spread there.
Right.
And, you pretty much are obligated to take the lowest bidder.
No, we lowest qualified.
You just open that and you don't have a chance to study the specs and so on. I mean, this guy could be using the cheapest stuff in the world for seal coating.
It's a PennDOT spec. It's a PennDOT form and it's a PennDOT spec that they have to bid on. There's no variations. We're not taking their designs. It's specifically from PennDOT.
Okay, so it has been scrutinized as far as.
Correct, they have to.
Sure.
There's testing involved, et cetera, but it's all PennDOT spec.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why, you know, it's just who has a heavy hand, who doesn't, that's all. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like we created the spec, it's the standard spec.
Almost every year, there's one we just say, wow.
Yeah.
We.
I never even heard these guys Waco or something like that. I don't know, I never heard of it.
There's somebody doing it, I see their truck.
Oh, yeah.
Well, remember the pole barn, the golf
Right.
pole barn, when that fell, that was like a
Mhm.
difference of $100,000 on the pole barn.
Mhm.
Same thing, same pole, same,
Right.
that was unexpected, so who knows?
Well, we're back in that fine line where contractors are busy, so someone will bid if they get the work fine, if they don't, they're just as happy, so.
Okay, any other public comment?
I have a comment if it's possible. Sebastian, how are you in it?
Good, thank you.
So I am a potential bidder on the golf course.
Are you
And
going to and you're calling to say that you're gonna donate $3,850 to the fire department, is that correct?
absolutely. If we win the bid, they could have the golf course, the event. But yeah, I had that question in there. Is this the appropriate form to ask it or, you know?
So the bid documents are out. If you're gonna bid on the project, you can bid on the project. I'm not sure what your question is or comment is, but this board's not gonna be discussing in detail the property, the bid docs, review the bid docs, and if you wanna submit a bid, but, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, we're just doing due diligence on the property before we submit a bid.
Okay,
And what's your what's your question?
The question is, we wanted to do some soil samples. And, you know, so we wanted to know if there's permission for us to do soil samples so we could put in a bid.
yeah, if, I would reach out to Michelle and we can have, we'll put together basically a waiver form that, if you are gonna, when you go out to do your site visit to look at the property, you agree that, you know, you're waiving, releasing the township from any and all claims associated with anything that results from what you do. And that obviously you, leave the property as it was, so whatever you do, you have to put back to the normal condition or the condition it was in when you got there.
So if they,
You'll have to arrange it, you'll have to arrange the site visit with the township and or CBRE. CBRE is really the point person or the point entity for purposes of the bid.
okay, but if I hire a company to do that, they would just have to if they dig a test pit, they have to cover it back up, correct? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Okay, so we appreciate the ability to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to your bid.
Same here.
Mhm.
Appreciate the time.
Okay, any other questions or comment?
I do have, I did remember something I wanted to talk to you about in executive session immediately following the meeting
Okay, sounds good.
with respect to real estate.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to take it?
It'll be.
Okay, that sounds.
You want this envelope?
You want to go in the back or?
If you have a question, might as well do it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I just wanted to go on to do a brief interview real quick for, we go into executive session.
Oh, well,
I'll leave this to you, Michelle.
Well, I'm curious about, the goal that we were discussing, but I also wanted to know about, the other thing. You mentioned how you were looking for survivors of the,
oh, yeah.